All right, welcome back to the deep dive. This time, we're diving into the life and legacy of DMX.
Oh, absolutely.
We've got his Wikipedia article, which seems like a really great place to start.
For sure. Yeah.
We're going to try to unpack his music, try to figure out what made him such a force in hip-hop. You ready to go?
Yeah, absolutely. I think DMX's story is a great one. Just raw talent, vulnerability, and just a tough upbringing. Yeah, his journey is super fascinating.
You brought his debut album, It's Dark and Hell is Hot, and it wasn't just a commercial success, which it definitely was. I mean, it topped the charts. But it really captured something, like a raw energy that I think hip-hop was really craving at the time. What do you think it was about that album that connected with people so strongly?
I think his music just tapped into a raw, unfiltered emotion, and that resonated with people, especially in the late 90s. His childhood played a huge part in shaping his artistry. Born Earl Simmons in 1970, his early years were incredibly tough. Abuse, poverty, even periods of homelessness.
Yeah, he was in and out of group homes, turning to street life to survive. Like, there's that story about him robbing someone just to feed himself and his dog. You think about the resilience it took to get through that.
It's remarkable. I mean, you hear echoes of those experiences in every verse he spits. That grit, that unflinching honesty about the darker sides of life. And it just made him relatable, to people who were going through similar struggles.
It's almost like his music became a form of therapy for himself and for his listeners.
Exactly. And he wasn't afraid to be vulnerable, to show his pain and his anger. And, in a genre that often celebrates, bravado and materialism, that vulnerability was really refreshing and powerful.
And amidst all of that, he found music.
He did.
You shared that he started beatboxing for this local rapper named Reddy Ron back in 1985, and then eventually started rapping himself. And then he adopted the name DMX, Divine Master of the Unknown.
What a powerful name. It kind of hints at this complexity that became synonymous with his music. Right. And it evolved to Darkman X as well, which reflects that intensity, right, and that shadow that surrounded him. And there's just this depth there, this sense that he was like wrestling with big questions about life and death, good and evil. And it just started coming out in his lyrics.
Yeah. You gave us some info about his early career, too. Appearances on the Stretch Armstrong and Bobbito show, which was a pretty influential hip-hop radio show at the time.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And a feature in The Source's Unsigned Hype column. That's like a big deal for an up-and-coming rapper.
Huge.
So he clearly had the talent and the drive. He even scored some early record deals, first with Columbia Records, which is interesting because that didn't work out.
It is interesting, yeah.
And then you mentioned almost a deal with Death Row Records.
Right.
That would have been a completely different path,
Absolutely.
But it seems like those setbacks, they didn't stop him. He just kept pushing forward.
And it was his connection with Irv Gotti that really proved to be pivotal, because Gotti became president of A&R at Def Jam Recordings. Yeah. And he really saw DMX's potential and really helped him sign with Def Jam in 1997. And this was really the turning point that led to his explosion onto the scene.
Def Jam, that's the label that launched so many hip-hop legends. And that's where we arrive at his debut in 1998. It's Dark and Hell is Hot. And it went straight to #1 on the Billboard 200. Such a massive achievement, especially for a debut album. But he didn't stop there. He released another album that same year, right?
He did. Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, also debuted at #1. And that made him the first rapper since Tupac Shakur to achieve back-to-back #1 albums in the same year. And this was monumental for him, especially, in the super competitive hip-hop landscape of the late 90s.
Oh yeah, this was peak hip-hop. So much talent vying for the top spot. Achieving that level of success was no small feat.
Absolutely. It was a testament to his unique style and his ability to connect with listeners on this deeper level.
It's like he was tapping into something primal, something that transcended the typical braggadocio of the genre.
You got it.
He had that raw energy, that intensity, but he also had this vulnerability, this willingness to bare his soul. And that really resonated with people.
For sure.
And then in '99, he dropped his third album. And then there was X.
And this one had a track that became an absolute anthem, right? Party Up in Here is still a banger, over 2 decades later.
I can't imagine a party without that song. It's such a high energy track and the lyrics are just infectious.
Yeah.
What do you think made it such a hit?
It was a combo of things. I mean, the production was top notch, the beat was undeniable, his delivery was pure fire, but it was also the attitude, the energy, the feeling of liberation that he conveyed, It was like he was giving people permission to let loose and have a good time.
It's interesting because despite the dark themes that often permeated his music, he was also capable of creating these incredibly fun, celebratory anthems. It speaks to the range of his artistry.
For sure. He wasn't just one thing. He was complex, multifaceted, and that complexity was reflected in his music.
So 3 consecutive #1 albums. He was on an incredible run. It's like he was unstoppable.
A force to be reckoned with. His impact on hip-hop was undeniable.
And during this time, he also made that cameo appearance in Sum 41's music video for Makes No Difference. So he was like branching out, crossing genres, showcasing his growing appeal.
It's a testament to his charisma and crossover potential, right?
Yeah.
He was becoming a cultural icon, someone who transcended the boundaries of hip-hop.
And then in 2000, he joined the Anger Management Tour.
Oh, yeah.
Alongside Limp Bizkit, Godsmack, and Sinistar. It was this like unique moment where hip hop and nu metal kind of converged on one stage.
Yeah.
It was a pretty intense tour, but it speaks to DMX's power and influence that he could, share the stage with these rock heavyweights.
Oh, yeah. His energy was infectious. His stage presence was commanding. He knew how to captivate an audience.
And that same intensity translated seamlessly to the big screen. He starred in several films during this period, right?
He did. And he brought that same raw energy and charisma to his acting roles, as he did to his music. Belly, alongside Nas, Romeo Must Die, with Jet Li, Cradle to the Grave. He was working with some serious action stars, holding his own every step of the way.
And let's not forget Exit Wounds and Beyond the Law. He was quickly becoming a recognizable face in Hollywood.
He was proving to be a versatile artist, capable of captivating audiences in different mediums. He had this undeniable presence, a magnetic quality that drew people in.
And it's interesting to think about how those early struggles, that darkness he experienced, kind of fueled his creativity and contributed to his success. It's like he channeled those experiences into his art.
For sure. His story is a reminder that sometimes the greatest art comes from the deepest pain. It's also a reminder that success doesn't erase personal struggles.
He was very open about his battles with addiction and his legal troubles. It's a side of the story that we can't ignore.
Right, his life was a constant struggle between light and darkness.
He was juggling so much, a demanding career, legal issues, personal demons, and fatherhood. You shared that he actually had 15 children.
Yeah.
From 9 different women. That's a lot to handle for anyone.
And you have to remember, he was also grappling with this deep-seated spiritual longing. He spoke openly about his faith and his desire to become a pastor. And it's a fascinating aspect of his personality that I think we'll delve into later on.
It's clear that there's so much more to unpack with DMX's story. Stay with us as we continue to explore the life and legacy of this, complex and influential artist.
Yeah, it is amazing how someone who lived such a turbulent life could also find solace in faith. It's a powerful reminder that people are complex, fit them into neat little boxes.
So true. We've touched on his difficult past, his rise to stardom, his acting career, his spiritual side, but there's another part of his story we can't ignore. The feuds. You mentioned that his most notable ones were with Ja Rule and Jay-Z. These rivalries really offer a glimpse into the competitive nature of hip-hop.
Exactly. It was about ego, supremacy, pushing creative boundaries. Let's start with the Ja Rule feud,
Yeah.
It's interesting because they actually started as collaborators, forming a group called Murder Inc., actually with Jay-Z.
Whoa.
But tensions, led to the group's disbandment.
So what sparked the feud? Was it creative differences?
DMX felt Ja Rule was imitating his signature gruff delivery. He called him out in interviews and even released a diss track called They Want War in 2002.
Oh, of course I've heard that one.
Have you?
Oh, yeah. Classic DMX. Raw, unapologetic, he didn't hold back at all. The way he uses his voice as an instrument, like growling and barking his lyrics, it's so distinct. It's no wonder he felt so protective of his style.
Right. And it's part of what made him so iconic. Ja Rule never released a direct response track, but DMX kept the pressure on. He even aimed lines at Ja Rule on Go to Sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Featuring Eminem and Obi Trice from the Cradle to the Grave soundtrack.
Oh, I remember that one, yeah. It's almost comical how he goes after Ja Rule, but it also kind of underscores, the seriousness of their rivalry. Did things ever cool down between them?
Eventually. After DMX's release from prison in 2005, he actually expressed a desire for peace. And it wasn't until 2009 at VH1's Hip Hop Honors that they officially ended the feud.
Okay.
Irv Gotti, their former collaborator, played a key role in bringing them together.
That's good to hear. It shows that even amidst the fiercest rivalries, there's always room for reconciliation.
Absolutely.
Now, what about the Jay-Z feud? What fueled that tension?
Well, it supposedly stemmed from a rap battle, way back in the early 90s.
Oh, wow.
And DMX apparently wasn't happy with the outcome, sparking this kind of rivalry that, it's a story shrouded in hip-hop lore, right? Adding to the mystique.
Yeah. It definitely adds a layer of intrigue. So this one battle, turned into a full-blown feud.
It simmered for years. They exchanged barbs in interviews and songs, each trying to, one-up the other. Even before his passing, DMX challenged Jay-Z to a versus battle.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine?
That would have been epic. Two titans of hip-hop going head-to-head with their biggest hits. Sadly, it never happened.
Yeah, a missed opportunity for sure. But the feud itself highlights that competitive spirit that drives a lot of artists, right? That desire to be recognized as the best.
And DMX was never one to back down from a challenge. He had that fire in him.
Right.
Now, let's shift gears and talk about his legal issues. You provided a list of charges that he faced throughout his life, and it's a long one.
It is a long one. We're talking weapon possession, robbery, assault, carjacking, animal cruelty, reckless driving, DUI, drug possession, probation violation, and even tax evasion.
It's a lot to process, It's hard to believe that he was able to create music amidst all of that chaos.
Well, it speaks to his resilience, but also to the deep-seated issues he was battling. His struggles with addiction were well documented. He entered rehab multiple times. It was a constant battle for him.
And we mentioned earlier how he announced his retirement after Grand Champ. That was his 5th consecutive #1 album. Did he really stay retired?
Not exactly. He eventually signed with Columbia Records again, releasing his 6th studio album, Year of the Dog, again in 2006. And it debuted at #2 on the Billboard 200, breaking his streak of #1 debuts.
Still impressive, though.
It is still remarkable.
Lord, Give Me a Sign, We in Here, those were the big singles from that album. And they really showcased, I think, his raw energy and lyrical prowess, even as he was, navigating these personal and professional challenges. And he even expressed, this desire to become a pastor, which, aligned with his spiritual journey.
He did. He even gave sermons at churches. It's fascinating how he sought solace and faith amidst such turbulence. Makes you think about the different ways people find peace.
Right. We've talked about his music, his legal troubles, his fatherhood, and now his spirituality. He was such a complex individual.
It was.
And his story continues to unfold. Did he ever make that gospel album he mentioned?
Unfortunately, it was never released, but Def Jam released another compilation album in 2010, The Best of DMX.
Oh, yeah.
Featuring, hits like Where the Hood At and Ex-Con Give It To Ya, Then, in 2011, he announced a new album, Undisputed, at the BET Hip Hop Awards, and even released a video for Last Hope.
Undisputed is such a classic DMX title.
It is.
Confident, defiant, unapologetic. And he followed it up with a digital EP, The Way in 2012.
Exactly. It was a taste of what was to come. Undisputed finally dropped in September 2012, featuring production from Swizz Beatz, J.R. Rodham, even a guest appearance by MGK.
Wow.
Swizz Beatz was actually involved in his next project, an 8th studio album.
Okay.
Hinting at collaborations with Kanye West and Dr. Dre.
Kanye and Dr. Dre. That would have been huge.
It would have been huge. But, before we dive into that, let's rewind to 2016. Because his 2003 hit, Ex-Con Give It To Ya, it was featured in the Deadpool movie.
Oh, yeah.
And trailers.
Yeah.
And it introduced his music to a whole new generation.
It was the perfect fit for that movie.
It was a perfect fit.
Yeah.
Later that year, he released a new song, Blood Red, and then, followed by Bane Is Back, produced by Swizz Beatz, in 2017. So he was still actively creating music, still showing his passion for the art form.
And then in 2019, he signed a new record deal with Def Jam Recordings.
He did.
Returning to the label where it all began.
That's right.
That must have been a special moment for him.
It was a homecoming. He rejoined the label alongside, his friend and longtime collaborator, LL Cool J.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately, his life took a tragic turn in 2021, but before we dive into that, let's talk about his final artistic project. The one that's going to be sent to the moon.
Oh, yes. The one that was originally called Heavy Lies of the Crown, but then renamed Divine Master of the Unknown after his passing.
Yeah.
It's incredibly fitting.
It is. It's going to be included in the Astrovault, a lunar time capsule.
Wow.
Ensuring that DMX's legacy extends beyond Earth. It's a testament to his lasting impact.
Yeah.
But there's one more aspect that we haven't touched on. DMX's personal life, his family, his finances.
Yeah.
There's still more to uncover.
We've covered so much ground with DMX, his artistry, his struggles, his triumphs, his spirituality. Now, let's dive into his personal life, especially his role as a father. You mentioned he had 15 children with 9 different women.
Yeah, it is a complex family dynamic for sure.
Yeah.
He was married to his childhood sweetheart, Tashara Simmons, from 1999 to 2014. And they had 4 children together.
So 4 children with Tashara and then 11 more with other women. It makes you wonder, how involved he was in all of their lives.
Well, it seems like he tried his best, but, it wasn't always easy. He faced financial struggles, multiple bankruptcies, even served time for failing to pay child support.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to manage 15 children, multiple relationships, a demanding career, and personal struggles. It's just an incredible amount of pressure.
Yeah, that's a lot for anyone to handle. And then, let's not forget his constant battle with addiction, which, played a significant role in his life.
Sadly, yes. And in February 2016, there was a terrifying incident where he was found unresponsive in a hotel parking lot after what appeared to be a drug overdose.
Oh, wow.
Thankfully, first responders were able to revive him.
That must have been a wake-up call, a stark reminder of the fragility of life.
It was a close call, highlighting, the grip that addiction can have. Unfortunately, though, it wasn't his final health scare.
Right.
In April 2021, he suffered a heart attack at his home, likely triggered by another overdose. And he was hospitalized, placed on life support.
Yeah, I remember when that news broke. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah. His family gathered by his side, but after a week, he was pronounced dead on April 9th. He was only 50 years old.
It's a tragic reminder that even the toughest, most resilient people are vulnerable. Did they ever confirm the official cause of death?
The Westchester County Medical Examiner's Office confirmed that the heart attack was the cause. And his passing, it sent shockwaves through the music industry and beyond, sparking an outpouring of grief and tributes from fans and fellow artists worldwide.
He was a true icon, a unique voice in hip-hop, and his legacy, it continues to inspire.
Absolutely. His music resonated with so many because of his raw honesty, his vulnerability.
Yeah.
He was able to connect with listeners on this emotional level, tapping into their pain, their hope, even in the darkest of times. His influence is undeniable.
Yeah, you hear his music everywhere, even today. His songs have been sampled, covered, featured in countless movies and TV shows. Like we mentioned, Deadpool, he truly transcended genres.
Absolutely. DMX was one of a kind. What are your thoughts on his complex and multifaceted journey?
Well, it's a reminder that even in darkness, there's always a flicker of hope.
Yeah.
DMX's story is one of resilience, vulnerability, and the enduring power of music. He fought his demons, he triumphed, he stumbled, and through it all, he created art that touched millions. He was a father, a rapper, a spiritual seeker. It makes you think about the legacy we leave behind and the impact we have on others. What are your biggest takeaways?
For me, it's a reminder that every person has a story. A unique journey filled with both light and shadow.
Right.
And DMX's life was a testament to that. He showed us the power of vulnerability, the importance of confronting our demons, and the enduring spirit of creativity. His music will continue to be enjoyed and celebrated for generations to come. And his story will continue to inspire us to find hope, even in the darkest of times.
It's been a roller coaster of a deep dive, full of incredible highs and devastating lows.
It has.
DMX's life was this complex tapestry, woven with talent, struggle, and this relentless pursuit of self-expression. Thank you for joining us as we explored the life and legacy of this extraordinary artist. Until next time, keep diving deep